there we go. Even today, you don't have family, nobody really looks after you. But the shopkeepers knew that we have a clinic, and maybe they still have compassion, but it's not in their culture to take care of that person. So I said, okay, so I called Rick, which is the doctor, and I said, look, there's this and this, and I said, in the meantime, I'm going to buy him some food and some drink. And so he drank, and he must have been so thirsty and so hungry. He ate, as if no wound, whatever. He looked like it was covered. He looks like a healthy person. He came, the Rick came, we took him to the hospital Root Institute, then of course, too big, the Gaia hospital. They wanted to amputate his leg. He said, no, he died on the way to the operation table. But to see human, going, he was having a very attractive face. But all the attractive face was totally not seeable with this wound, which is, full of maggots. A dog had bitten him and he didn't take care of the wound. And then it got infected and then the maggots. So, and that in New Zealand, when you see all these run over, what are called, opossums, first the flies, and then it takes 1 day. If you go for a walk in the same road where this opossum is lying, 1 or 2 days full of maggots. So they eat these things. So what is this? The maggots, which has come from a paddlefish. Why do I desire this body, which the native is grossly unclean? For it too was produced by filth. So we're not attached to maggots. We find them. So, but why again? It's always this question: why being attached to this body? Now, pleasant substances like camphor, rice, and fresh green herbs. Put them in your mouth and spit them out. The ground itself is rendered foul with it. If it's your child who spits something out, you might be able to put it back in your mouth. If it's somebody else, no way. The moment it has gone in here and it comes out again, nobody will touch it, isn't it? I don't know how it is if you would be starving. Maybe then, yes. So this is why it doesn't take long for the body to transform something clean into something unclean. In our mind, it's not cleaner or we kiss the person and we kind of swallow their saliva, but then when they spit something out, no, don't. But with the children, I think one would be able to, pick it up and just put it in. Yeah, grandchildren.
Depend the age of the children.
Look, yeah, okay.
Baby or it's a teenager.
Okay, yeah. That's funny also. Why? So you see, all he is encouraging us to kind of question our own behavior with body and this and that. Why? A baby, yes. Why a teenager, no. If still you doubt such filthiness, so if that's not enough for you to understand, though it is very plain for all to see, go off into the charnel grounds, observe the fetid bodies there abandoned. Well, unfortunately, we don't have anymore the opportunity to see what happens to a dead body because it gets covered. In Switzerland, most of them burned. Here, just covered. The fetid bodies are there abandoned, and if when their skins are peeled away, they make you feel great horror and revulsion. How, having seen this later on, can you desire and crave for such an object? It really spoils your fun about sexual relationships. I'm sorry, this is. But if you again give your body out of love, it's the best. It's a very good present you can give to your body. Okay. I mean, we talked yesterday about Varanasi, when you go and see how the bodies are burned, so you need lots of wood. It takes 3 hours about for a body to be destroyed, and then sometimes all of a sudden you see from the heat, you see an arm popping out, you see the skin blistering, and then, well, all you have to do is break the sausage, you see the same thing. You see the skin blistering and then kind of coming off, and there's absolutely not even enough interest to go there and look. It's like, isn't it? Spontaneously. Yeah. Or the sun, you know, having to walk around. How many of us in the West who are not used to that culture would be able to do that? The sun having to crack open the skull of the father so that the soul can go out. Like you know, they put the dead body like a sandwich between wood, and then some wood like this. But the skull looks, you see the skull, right? And then the son walks around the fire in Hinduism. Walks around the fire a few times. He has a stick, and then he has to go whack, and then you hear this whack, so that the soul can go out. That's the view. So, and not having a son who does that is terrible, because your soul will not get released. That's the Hindu view. Would you be able, if that's the view, you know, would you be able to do that, to crack open the skull of your dead dad? I don't think so. But it's reality. I mean, I've seen it. Okay, maybe some of you also. There's a sound that it makes. The scent that now perfumes the skin is sandalwood and nothing else. You know, when somebody comes and say, we don't say, oh, your perfume smells nice. We say, oh, you smell nice, isn't it? But it's not the body, it's the perfume. Or a friend of mine also, she smelled her shoes. She says, wow, these shoes smell really nice. I said, I don't think that's the fault of the shoes. I'm sorry. It's not their fault. If you would not have put your feet inside, they would not smell. But we say the shoes smell bad without seeing the cause, which is my feet. Is sandalwood and nothing else? Yet how is it that one thing's fragrance causes you to long for something else? So Tenzin Zopa says, I don't understand this properly. So Tenzin Zopa says, if one says that one's desire for a person is due to the perfumed skin, Shantideva questions, how is it that the fragrance from the fragrance from an inanimate object like sandalwood can bring about craving for physical, cannot bring about craving for physical sexual, or it's not the person that smells, but it's, you say, no, inanimate things I don't want. Yeah, I guess that's what he wants to say. But what brings up your attraction, it's smell from an inanimate object, which is sandalwood. So why then you get sexually aroused knowing that the smell comes from an inanimate object, while before you said, no, it's not in, I don't want the pillow, I don't want the flower, I want the flesh and the mind, I want this. Yet how is it that one thing's fragrance causes you to long for something else? So we're not longing for the perfume, we're longing for the body. And with this thing with perfumes, when you are sometimes in an elevator, in the morning, while the perfume is still fresh, ooh la la, you know? Yeah, exactly, it's suffering.
Yeah.
All these mixed, kind of very expensive things together.
It makes headache.
Huh?
It makes headache.
Yeah. It hits you totally. Yeah. You're happy to get out of the elevator. Yeah. But it doesn't mean you should, because you know, when you clean your body and all this, you do it for the purpose of the others. So you think, okay, so at least I won't be well, ordinary people are disturbed by body odors, so this is why I do it. So when you're alone at home, then it's okay, you don't have to do it. And also do it with moderation. Yeah. Because the thing is also, because also with smell, if it's always the same perfume, you get used to it and you don't smell it anymore. And that's why they overdo it. That's the problem. Surely it is best to cease too long for what by nature gives of evil smells, yet worldly people lusts are all confused. To what end do they daub the flesh with perfumes? Yeah, that's that. You know, daub is like this, I think it's a lot. This was 66. Since the body has a natural foul odor, it has, isn't it? I mean, can we agree to that? Isn't it good to be unattached to it? Why do those who crave for the meaningless things of the world anoint this body with pleasant scents? So why do we cover it over? Why can't we learn to live with its nature? And this is since ever, you know, the Romans had bathhouses and perfumes and all these kind of things. That's as far as one can remember and as far as one can kind of assume what they had. They also were attached to a clean body. They also didn't want to see and Indians, maybe also, because Indians are so attached to their clean bodies. Even the poorest people, they go and wash completely before a meal. You know, if they cannot wash, they get sick very quickly because it's so conditioned that you have to clean your body before you eat. Yeah, so again, he's Indian, so then he kind of goes, what's his fascination with the body?
Napoleon told his wife, don't bathe, I'm coming home.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the story? Napoleon.
No?
Bonaparte.
What happened?
He said, I'm coming
Josephine.
home. Josephine. He said, I'm coming home, don't bathe.
Oh, okay. So,
That's documented.
so he was attached to something else in that case. Now we have to see how this is also deluded, isn't it? He needed this stench to be aroused, maybe, so, because he was used to horses and maybe that. You see dogs sometimes kind of rolling themselves in cow shit. For other sheep also, so that also they are also attracted. So again, it's not, excrement is not by itself for everybody. Flies, they're attracted by excrement. Yeah, so it's not, we think excrement is by nature, nobody wants. But no, somebody wants. Napoleon, it's a good story. Napoleon. So you have to see, what about me? Do I want my wife to? But this is it, this is, you know, I mean, I did have sexual relationships. The smell of sweat of my partners did never disturb me. Even that can be attractive when you're totally fascinated, isn't it? Sweat of somebody else who's sitting next to you or in an elevator, oh, no way. It smells more or less the same. So this is why he says, you know, you confused minds here, yet worldly people's lusts are all confused. 66. So why am I touched with it? Since the body is natural. And furthermore, if it's the pleasant scent of sandalwood, how can it come from the body? So I am attached to others' bodies because of scents that are other than theirs. Yeah, so here it talks about confusion, there maybe not. For it's the scent, in fact, the sandalwood. How will we now describe the body's odors? And how is it that one thing's fragrance causes you to long for something else? We don't want the perfume, we want the body, but we say we want the body because it smells nice. It doesn't make sense. This is when we don't clean the body, okay? With lanky hair, with long nails, overgrown, with dirty teeth, and reeking with the stink of slime. This body, naked as it is, untended, is indeed a nightmare to behold. What did he say? Since the naked body left in its natural state is very frightening due to its long hairs and nails, its yellowish foul-smelling teeth, and is being coated with the odor of dirt. Think about a homeless person who cannot shower. It doesn't take long. You know, and one of them at one point, somebody said, young and healthy and kind of strong, but you know, really no teeth and or not some lost and this not hair, beard. Somebody said, you should go to work. And he said, try to find a job with an appearance like this. Yeah, he's like, we don't want to. This is how much we judge on external things. Or also with the beggar at one point. She is very funny. She is always in the streets of Bern, and somebody says she has thousands of dollars hidden under her mattress. I say, doesn't matter. She has a beggar mentality, so I give her something. She's still poor, you know. And I talked to her and all this. So she comes, and I had somebody with me. It's always the worst because. So then she comes, and I give her something, and then the one next to her. You should go and work. She says, but I am working. This is my job. And I tell you, it's an unpleasant job. Not many people say, thank you for allowing me to practice generosity. Not many people say that. Nobody says thank you to you when you fulfill your job as a beggar. But it's a very good answer. I'm working. This is how I earn my money. What are you talking about? Very sharp. But she's mentally disturbed also, kind of, and probably drugs and alcohol. But I like her. Why go to such excess to clean and polish? What is but a weapon that will injure us? The cares that people squander on themselves in ignorance convulse the universe with madness. So kind of fascination to the body will throw you into the lower states because it's so much attachment. So kind of, this is, they say, it is like you are a blacksmith and you make your sword to kill yourself. So we're just asking, why do we do this? Did you see the heaps of human bones and feel revulsion in the charnel ground? Yes, of course. Then why such pleasure in your cities of the dead, frequented by such skeletons that live and move? So we're already walking around kind of skeletons. What point we will be there? What is more, possession of another's filth is not be acquired free of charge. All is at the price, exhaustion in this life and in the next, the suffering of hell. So I think it's about having to work for your family. Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's about this now, that actually getting married is expensive. Comes with a price. So to pay the bride price, young men are unable, but they want a wife. So while they're young, what joy is there for them? Their lives are spent to gain sufficient wealth. By him they're too old to satisfy their lust. It's a very bleak picture. So you're young and you need to work. Finally, when you have enough money, your sexual energy is gone. Pop, what's the point? Some are miserable as well as lustful, for worn out by their day-long work. They go home broken with fatigue, to sleep the slumbers of a corpse. If one of you works and the other one doesn't, and you're the whole day, you've been, tonight we'll have, we'll have some sex tonight, how wonderful, your partner comes home, I'm too exhausted. Does that happen today also? Yeah. Right. Some obliged to travel far abroad must suffer separation from their wives. Well, the Indians even now have to go and work in Dubai and all these places to support their families. Not just the Indians, also people from Africa. All our maids and servants. From children, separation whom they love and long to see, they do not meet with them for years on end. If you are a maid in India, from a very remote village, or in Dubai, you will not have the money to go home. And I just saw a report on that. If you have a contract with them, they take away your passport, so you can't leave. And you're abused, and you have, it was a documentary on, what's it called, Meuron and the other one, architect. Very famous Swiss architects who made, I think in Beirut, made this amazing tower with apartments, and the maids' rooms have no windows. And we've been thinking these architects, wonderful people, they make these wonderful things. They made this tower with huge balconies and swimming pools on the balconies, I don't know. And the rooms for the maids have no flowers. Huge scandal in Switzerland. I tell you, their esteem was like, it's in the cellar now. Because we have some, they make this expensive thing that can make some windows for the servants. And then there was this documentary, I watched it, where they told how they're if they're illegal, then they don't take their passports because they control them and they can go. If they have a contract, you take a passport. No matter how much they abuse you, you have to finish that contract. Today, it could be us. It could be your children. It's not. So then we use our life to get out of this samsara where there's all this danger. We don't have to go to lower states. You can be reborn as a human and be born in a situation like this. You have no choice. You know, you want a family, you need a family, you make a family, but then providing for them, you have to do such things. Or selling your body like, you know, prostitutes, men and women. And we always think, you know, because we're surrounded by people who are not in that situation, we always say, oh, yeah, there's not so many. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it's really not so many who have to undergo terrible suffering to support the children and their wives or husbands. I'm not sure. What is the majority? I'm not sure. And why are we so well off? Because they work for such low wages. I mean, they provide us with our comfort. Yeah, some obliged to travel far abroad must suffer separation from their wives, from children, separation whom they love and long to see. They do not meet with them for years on end. Or also, you know, war situations where the refugees from Ukraine or other places. From Ukraine, it's the mothers and the children who come, and the guys stay at home. Africa, it's more the guys who come, and the women and the children stay at home. If you don't have family, then you go and you don't have to worry about them at home. Some ambitious for advancement, not knowing how to get it, sell themselves. Happiness eludes their grasp, and pointless they live in bondage to their masters, like, you know, selling yourself to a master who will give you something. Some completely sell themselves, no longer free in slavery to others, and destitute. Their wives give birth with only trees for shelter in the wilderness. It's easy to understand it. That some are so desperate that they will never go back home. And then fools ensnared by craving for a livelihood decide that they will make their fortune in the wars, though fearful for their lives and seeking fame, it's slavery they get. Maybe not so common anymore, but also Swiss people, they would sell themselves to be soldiers because we didn't have wars. So like in the 30-year war, you know, they would go, that's how they earn their wages. I think we still have it now, and then the war is finished and they're jobless, they don't know what to do. Some, as fruits of their ambition, have their bodies slashed, impaled, and pointed stakes. Some are wounded, run through by the lance, while some are put to death by fire. This is what happens in a war. The trouble guarding what we have, the pain of losing all. See the endless hardships brought on us by wealth. Those distracted by their love of riches never have a moment's rest from sorrows of existence. Yeah, I mean, all the trouble that we have, you know, it's difficult to get what you want, but if it's a lot, it's difficult to guard it because somebody might be jealous, like Switzerland wants to close their borders because these refugees, they come with nothing, so we might have to feed them, which we could, but nobody wants really, you know. Ukrainians, yes, because they have white skin. I mean, it's terrible what happened. They had so much more rights than all the others who come from Africa. Why? Because they have white skin. We can relate to them. Yeah. I'm not saying they shouldn't get all these things. I'm just saying, but then we have to give it to everybody. But yeah, and then, you know, guarding what we have is difficult because we get attached to these things, dependent on these things, and then at the end, what? What happens at the end? We have to leave it behind. Gosh, how am I going to let you go home with such terrible things? With such, I see your faces and go, whoa. It's not finished yet. Still about 10 verses to go. They indeed, possessed of many wants, will suffer many troubles, all for very little. Mouthfuls of the hay the oxen get as a recompense for having pulled the cart. An animal works very hard, and what do they get? a mouthful of hay or grass in the evening, that's about it. So that is what the reward is for putting all our energy in worldly activities. A little bit of happiness, a little bit of pleasure, to leave it all behind at the time of death. And it's not us, we're practicing Dharma, so it's wonderful. So cheer up, guys, come on. Because, I know that's still that one, the cattle's fodder, not so very rare, and for the sake of such a petty thing, tormented by the karma, they destroy the precious human life, so hard to find. We kind of waste it away. All that we desire is sure to perish, and afterwards we fall to hellish torment. The constant minor troubles we endure are all for what amounts to very little, because we have to leave it behind. And if we have created negative karma on the way to get it, which we do, or we could do, then it throws us into the lowest states. Nothing will protect us at our time of death except our Dharma, when I say Dharma practice, you think I'm saying Buddhism. No. Acts of kindness, compassion, consideration, all that, meditations on emptiness, meditation on love, compassion, and all that. That will protect us. That will bring us to another good state. And if we get really familiar with that now, while it's not so dear, maybe next life we're not so interested in first building up a wonderful existence before we start to go into the monastery or, practice for something that lasts. Liberation and enlightenment is lasting happiness. We can, so this is the potential that we have to start to believe in, we can fulfill that wish that we all have for lasting happiness. But with the millionth part of such fixation and here it comes. But with the millionth part of such fixation, enlightenment itself could be attained. It would be easier to attain enlightenment than all the effort that we have made since beginningless time. Not just in this life, but we have made always the same effort since beginningless lifetimes. And we could have attained enlightenment. When I see Roger Federer, do you know him? Yeah, he had his last match yesterday. He finished his career, so whole Switzerland was crying, and he as well. Because he is a very nice guy, actually. He has very good ethics and he has good attitudes. And he doesn't mind crying in front of people. So anyway, but can you imagine the effort that he made? Because he's 34, 35?
41.
Or even more, huh?
41.
41. To keep up his body, to be able to still play a full match yesterday. I mean, if those of you who play tennis, you know how much energy you need. So it needs a lot of training. If he would have put that effort into sitting, meditating, trying to understand emptiness, he would be enlightened. All the hours, all the determination, all the not giving up, and wow. Yeah, but interest somewhere else. But he enjoyed many people with his play and with his way of being, so that's also okay. That's also fine, but he didn't become a Buddha, I think. So with the smaller part of all the efforts that we have, and it says a million instances in mind, involving in exhausting ourselves for the sake of what is not very great, hence the desire experience great misery that those following the awakened way of life, but for them there is no awakening. I prefer this one. It says like with the millionth part of such trouble that we are going through to get, all these things that fall apart, enlightenment itself could be attained. The pains the lustful take exceeds by far the trials encountered on the path. At the end, the fruit is very far from Buddhahood. At the end of a tennis career. Yeah, he has a wonderful wife, two times wonderful twins. And he has a lot of money. Way. I don't know how many millions he earned. And also he has a lot of projects that he supports, that's true, but there's this big thing. He wanted to build a villa next to the Lake of Zurich, but then there was something wrong with the ground. Yeah, It's okay, it's his money, he can do with it whatever he wants. Reflect upon the horrors of the states of sorrow, weapons, poisons, fires, and yawning chasm